Real estate agents that focus on and get listings in the year 2020 are going to thrive in both business as well as in life. The reason being is because demand is far outpacing supply in real estate. Today's guests are some of the most prolific marketers of our time. They built the company Curaytor, and I really ask them to share with us what are the tactics that you're seeing top agents around the country do in order to get more listings. And they're going to share some of that. They're also going to share a framework through which you can communicate and help your potential sellers to see you as the solution, the person with whom they want to do business with. They're also going to share tactics on where they're getting their marketing content that's relevant, timely, valuable, that really puts you at the forefront of the conversation and giving content that's super shareable. You're going to love this episode. It's jam-packed with value, with content that will help you get more listings. Enjoy. Hey, welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I am your host, Justin Stoddart. As you know, my mission and my passion is to help you to think bigger, realizing that as you do, you can have everything that you want in this life. I'm fortunate to be able to associate with some powerful individuals, some people that are changing the industry, changing the world as we know it. And today is no exception of that. I've got with me the founders of Curaytor, Smith and Jimmy Mackin. If you don't know these guys, you might have been living under a rock. Today, you're going to realize kind of what expert marketers looks like. And today, that's in the real estate market, there's a shortage of listings. Real estate agents, you're not unfamiliar with that. You realize that in order to thrive in this marketplace, you have to have inventory. It's just so competitive on the buyer side. So I've been fortunate to be connected with these amazing individuals to talk all about that today. We're going to talk about how to get more listings in 2020, what you're missing on the marketing side, coming from two guys that live and breathe marketing and teach it at the highest level out there. So Chris and Jimmy, it's such a pleasure to have you guys on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, Chris, what do expert marketers look like? Apparently they just wear t-shirts. I think that's what we look like, right?
That's right. We are not wearing a suit, but we are definitely qualified. Jimmy, your hair looks great today. It looks like they've opened the salons back up in Boston.
You know it, man. You know it.
Justin, great opening, great intro. I love your vibe. I love your energy. I love your passion. I was looking at your page. You do great interviews. So let's crank it, baby. I'm excited.
I love it, man. Let's get into, first of all, let's get a little background on Curaytor. I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but why did you guys found Curaytor? What was the need in the marketplace that you guys felt like, you know what, we've got to fill this gap because no one else is filling it?
Well, I'll take the lead on that. Jimmy and I have been bloggers and content creators for a long, long time. And we would give speeches at conferences and we would do webinars and we would write blog posts. And what would happen, Justin, is there was this need in the market where a lot of the top agents and teams, they were sold on the internet, meaning social media, email marketing, having a great website, generating leads, Facebook, Twitter, Google, Instagram. They would learn from us and then they would immediately say, can I just hire you to do all this for me? Because I'm sold, but I don't have the time and I don't have the knowledge to do what you guys are talking about. And I don't want to go learn it. I like people. I like selling homes. I want to be going on listing appointments. I want to be showing homes to buyers. I don't really want to have to learn how to use Facebook Ads Manager. I don't really want to learn how to segment my email list or optimize my database, but I want all of that done because I can see that's where the puck is headed. Mm-hmm. So it was really, people kept asking us over and over, can we hire you? Can we hire you? Can we hire you? And eventually it was like, you know what? We should say yes. And so we started Curaytor together. We've been at it for almost 8 years. We help listing agents win more listings. We help some of the top agents and teams on the planet with their marketing. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of fun. It's a fulfilling career. We build websites. We help with Facebook ads. We help with blogging and Instagram and email marketing. And what I've found, at least in the last couple of months with COVID, is now a lot of people are like, man, I need to take all this stuff seriously. It looks like everything's digital, everything's internet, and traffic's up and clicks are up and awareness is up. And so we're still busy and we're having a lot of fun. So thanks for asking.
Yeah. I think the world sped up by about 5 years in about 5 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I think all of this was inevitable. But you look at it now, and it's all of a sudden it's a stark reality that the digital world is no longer a nicety, right? It's a necessity. I've had agents who kind of been putting it off, very successful, have, robust referral networks, and they've really built their business out knee to knee, kind of face to face. And all of a sudden you can't do that anymore. At least you can't do it like you used to. And so now there's this massive pivot, right? And I think I'd love to hear from you guys. What's the peril that you see when somebody tries to go out, do marketing at a really high level, right, to get more listings, right? This isn't just to be famous, right, to kind of have this trophy or the statue of your own self and feel really good about how many people know you and see you. We're talking about real tangible stuff here, about how many people call you or respond to you about listing their home, right? This is real dollars and cents. What's the peril when somebody tries to really learn all those things that you described, Chris? Because there's people that do that. They realize, you know what, I got to catch up. I'm going to take a crash course. I'm going to start building sites, or I'm going to hire some freelance people. Like, what's the challenge with that, you think? What's the problem with that?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, Justin, to hear that question, because Chris and I had a chance to interview Ben Kinney recently. And he talked about, I remember this in the interview, Chris, he talked about this idea of like understanding your dollar per hour, right? What are you actually worth? So in a lot of instances, Justin, the peril is people start to do jobs that are far below their pay grade. And that's going to bring down not only your productivity, but certainly your earning potential. So in a lot of instances, we find agents who are digging into like uploading spreadsheets into databases just to be able to, build out a custom audience within Facebook. That's number one. The learning curve is incredibly high for the average person. And number two, you can pay someone $20 an hour to do that for you who's done it a million other times. So I think there's this tendency in real estate, which is a fundamental flaw with most entrepreneurs, is we tend to think that we're the best at everything, so therefore we should do everything. No, both of those things are untrue. So I think the peril that they're going to run into is that the learning curve that it takes to be great at marketing in 2020, because Chris and I talk about this all the time. That level of sophistication required to get your marketing done right and advertising done right is far outside the norm of just posting and boosting and sharing. There's a lot more that goes into it. So I think the peril is people will waste a tremendous amount of time and money, blow a bunch of opportunities that they could be focusing on customers, which is what they're great at, and then lose sight of the job that's to be done here, which is be a great real estate agent. Get out there and service your customers. And anything that you do that doesn't help enforce that is something that is going to, I think, take away from your potential this year.
Well, I would add to that too. The other peril is when you come from working your past clients in your sphere your whole career, that's fun. Like I just had a call. I had 2 calls back to back this morning. They were night and day. The first guy was an internet lead that didn't know much about Curaytor, that was shopping around, that had a million questions, that was very standoffish. And then the second call was a guy that we already work with that was upgrading to a new service we rolled out. And it was this loving call. We bonded. It was a fun experience, and it was a layup sale. So it is different, Justin, when you decide, I'm going to do internet marketing. I'm going to do digital marketing. I'm going to generate leads from Facebook, from Google, from Instagram.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, when you go that route, it's a new normal. You might have to have 100 leads to get 2 good opportunities. And most people, if they've been working their past clients in their sphere, and if they've been working referrals for 10 or 15 years, and then they go put on the headset and they start dialing and calling internet leads, and they keep, I'm not serious, I'm just looking, I don't like, they quit and they stop because they don't want that life. They want the belly to belly life. They want the referral life. This is why there's been this huge push for ISAs. We're interviewing a guy later today. He has already set 300 appointments from Facebook leads this year, but he has invested in systems and processes and people and scripts. So you have to take the internet as serious as you've taken the non-internet. Yeah. And Jimmy's right. Click-through rate, open rate, reach, engagement, cost per click, cost per lead. It is a different world to understand marketing than it is to understand real estate. So I think that's another place where people fail. They need help. My book, The Conversion Code, went viral because it's a textbook on how to do marketing on the internet the right way. It's on a lot of shelves. There we go.
Case in point, man. You didn't even call that one. It's
a textbook. And that's the reason it went viral, because people need the X's and O's. They need to know exactly how to do it because it is a new world. So anyway, I think that's where a lot of people miss out.
And I think, one kind of theme that I hear both you talking about is the opportunity cost. And I think agents, they'll look at a price. Oh, I can't pay that. I could, we'll figure that out. My assistant will figure that out. Right. But the opportunity cost, like you said, of staying in their area of brilliance, of staying where, they're worth $250 to $500 an hour. Right. That's the peril, right, of trying to figure these things out on your own. We talk about marketing, and sometimes people think that marketing really exists solely for internet leads, right? For attracting people who don't know you, like you, trust you already. I would argue that in today's world, people that know you, like you, trust you are in their expectation, their standard of what they expect in a real estate agent is going up because they're seeing other agents perform at a really high level. Would you guys agree? And if so, what are some key tactics and strategies that you see agents doing in order to really demonstrate what it looks like to be a high level marketer as a real estate agent to your sphere, right? We're not talking to strangers. We're talking to your sphere.
Well, and I'm sure Chris will have something to add here, but if Zillow is doing a better job following up with your past clients than you are, you have a problem. And that's just the reality that many of us live in right now, Justin, which is if you sign up for, let's say a Zestimate at some point and you sell your property, Zillow's sending you reports every month on changes in the market that affect the value of your home. And oftentimes that touch point is significantly more relevant and valuable for the consumer than what they would normally be receiving post-transaction from their customers. There's a term in SaaS called LTV, which means lifetime value. Chris did a study on this, I believe, in PeopleWork, where he talked about what is the actual value of a customer in terms of over the course of your career, how many clients will they refer you if you follow up the right way? How many times will they do business with you again if they follow up the right way? And the number ended up being somewhere around, I think, $89,000, maybe a little more, a little less. Chris can verify that for me. But it ended up being nearly $100,000 for the average LTV for a customer who's with you for the entire life cycle of the transaction and post-transaction. So I think when you think about follow-up, what can they do? The first thing is just to be realistic that we're probably not doing a great job right now. I think having that honest conversation is step one, right? Admitting you have a problem is the idea. But the second thing is I think about it in the context of having a multi-channel approach to follow-up. Now, we tend to do things like send them cards, do pop-bys. Those are two channels. That is the mail and that is in person. But in the digital world that we live in today, you have many other channels that you can reach consumers through. Text, direct message on social media, retargeting ads, email newsletter, and just basically serving social ads to them elsewhere in addition to what we just talked about. So I think if you want to maintain that brand recognition with a customer, you have to have a multi-channel approach. They call it omni-channel approach to how you follow up with your past clients. But beyond that, I would say this, Chris, I think that, and maybe you can speak to this, Chris, I feel like most agents struggle with asking for just referrals in business. If they've got that relationship, right, and you're doing the right marketing, I think many agents just struggle to basically turn the corner. I'm not sure what your thoughts are there, but just to be able to turn the corner and ask for the business.
Well, here's the thing with COVID especially. What is the impact of COVID-19 on your home's value? What is the impact of COVID-19 on the market? What is the impact of COVID-19 if you're thinking about selling? What is the impact of COVID-19 on the buyer pool and how many people are buying?
Yeah.
What is the impact of the Fed keeping the rates low? Like we have a client named Dan Wordle, and he's up in Vancouver. And he wrote an article called Sketching Out the Potential Impact of COVID-19 on the Real Estate Market. It's a 9-minute read. He went deep. See, to get listings, you have to be an expert. And so your clients don't need toilet paper advice from you. They need real estate advice from you. There is a real opportunity right now because people are afraid. I just opened up Twitter, 1.5 million more jobs gone. What is the impact of unemployment spiking on the housing market?
Yeah.
Because if you can truly be an expert, see, buyers are easy, Justin. Buyers, you can get them from a listing. Buyers, you can get them from a listicle. Hey, check out the 10 homes for sale with 3D tours right now. And a lot of the buyers need to sell. But you're right, like earning listings takes expertise and content. I think this is a huge point. When is the last time you sat down and created content for your clients? Like we actually put out a bunch of content over the last few months for people. 10 things to do at home while you're social distancing. 7 restaurants you can support. Small businesses you can support. The 10-day declutter challenge. Like there's a way, and by the way, that kind of content, it has way more appeal. It's more shareable. That kind of content's going to do great in an email. That kind of content's going to do great in a Facebook post. That's the kind of content that we're used to seeing in our news feeds. See, the truth is, less than 5% of the people that you know are going to buy or sell a home this year. So when we come up with a marketing plan, and this is something everybody should take note of, our marketing plan for a month is focused on sellers, buyers, past clients, and Sphere. We make sure past clients and Sphere are a part of it every single month. And we also make sure that we focus on sellers because one of my favorite quotes is that what you focus on is what you find. So there are more, like, there should be more content ideas than time. And Jimmy's absolutely right. If your clients are getting their market reports from Zillow, they're basically going to be exposed to all of your competition. Ben Kinney, you mentioned him. He said something on the interview that really stuck with me. If you will simply put all of your clients on market reports monthly and put all of your buyer leads on listing alerts, you're going to be ahead of 80 to 90% of the competition. So you've got to be relevant. You've got to be timely. Like, what is the impact of the coronavirus on my home's value? Like, one of the stats that I've been seeing, Justin, is that over the next 12 months, there's predictions that home values are going to go down. That's scary. Nobody wants that. But that is something that you've got to market. The other thing, and you talk about listings and winning more listings, every buyer that you work with who can't find a home right now is a marketing opportunity. Every home that you sell that gets tons of offers in the first week is a marketing opportunity. You've got to educate potential sellers about what's going on. We have a client in Toronto. They got 55 offers on their listing.
That's the highest number I've heard, by the way.
I've never heard anything like that. That is the kind of key event that's happened that should become an article. It should become a social media campaign. It should become an email campaign. Hey, just so you know, we got 55 offers on our latest listing. Here's where it was located. If you or someone you know owns a home there and you're looking to get top dollar and you're looking to get it quickly, 54 of those buyers are still looking, right? Like, so I just think that there's a thing in real estate, people can Google it. It's called the magic buyer letter. And you can do this through the mail. You can do this on social. You can do this through email. We are working with a couple who is looking in this area and who is looking for this type of home, and there's not one. So if you or someone you know has that kind of a home, hit us up because we've got people ready to go see it. I just think that the market moving and changing and adapting, that should create new messaging.
Yeah. Chris, you said something that's really important. I think is worth diving a bit more into here, Justin, which is the idea of what Chris described as a marketable moment, which is a moment that happens within your day-to-day business that you can turn into something you can share with the world. You know, Justin, I know you're passionate about storytelling. This is exactly what we're describing. And so separate, for everyone who's listening in today who watches a replay, separate the idea of the angle, which is a strategy. What's the messaging? What are you trying to get out there? And the distribution. Where do you promote that? And what Chris has shared with you is every single day you have these marketable moments that exist within your business. That if you can just be aware of those moments, you can turn those moments into potential messaging and promotions and marketing campaigns across social, across email, across digital. And once you start to think like that, now all of a sudden people feel like there's sort of this heartbeat and pulse to your brand. There's a personality and soul behind your brand. They start to feel like they're working with somebody. And I think the best brands in the world are the ones who are able to convey that with their marketing. So Chris mentioned 55 offers, the magic buyer letter. That's an opportunity. A buyer didn't win the listing, right? And put their offer in and didn't get the win. That's an opportunity. Your seller sells a house within 3 days above asking price. That's an opportunity, right? Like, there are just countless examples of these moments, these marketable moments that exist that we are not really thinking about how to turn those into forward-facing consumer marketing to attract potential people. Because what we want every seller to say, to think, is we want them to read a story and feel like that person's just like me. And if Justin can help me find a home, well, or that person find a home, then of course he can help me find a home. And that's that kind of like just like me mindset you want to create through these stories, Justin.
I love that you said that. I agree with you entirely that there's a group of people out there that are assessing the fact that they're not in their ideal situation. And I think more people than ever are sitting in their home right now saying, you know what? I didn't think my home was going to need 2 home offices. I didn't think my home was going to need to also be big enough to hold school. Mm-hmm. Or that wall's always been a little ugly. Now it's super ugly because I'm staring at it all day long. And people are wanting to move, right? There's this movement. And if you can capture their attention and kind of back to the big portal idea, they've become billion-dollar organizations because they've mastered the ability to get and keep attention. And I think it behooves real estate agents that it's not good enough anymore to just be a real estate agent. You actually have to be a great marketer. You got to spend time with great marketers. Case in point, you guys, right? To where you're learning on how to think like a marketer. Everything out there, it's not just a face value, this is what happened, but it's the story coming alive from it. That, like you said, Jimmy, where you make that story come alive, and now people start to see themselves in that story and start to realize that if they help that person across the bridge, then they can probably help me. It's so interesting. When we were looking for a real estate agent, that's exactly what we did. Like who are the case studies of people that were like us that now want to live there, and they help them? Okay, well then that's our person, right? It was just kind of black and white. Whereas to the agent, I think oftentimes, we on the other side of the table maybe don't see it that way, don't realize how much these human stories come into it.
Yeah, one thing to add there, just before I forget, they said that the divorce rate is going to skyrocket during COVID, right? And I think the same thing is true for your divorce rate with your current living situation. Because, you're put yourself in a position where I live in the city in Boston, and we never talked about leaving the city, but all of a sudden, my wife's talking about, well, maybe we should move to a little bit more bigger space. And I'm resisting that at all costs. So, I think the divorce rate for people wanting to get out of their current situation in their house is going to start to increase. But the point you're hitting on here is tap into the psyche of the consumer, the average seller, the modern seller, and think about the pain points they have. Start to document what are the things that stress them out, that they lose sleep over, and the things that they worry about. Like, you have to speak to that in your marketing as a way to drive people and compel them to want to actually reach out and have a conversation with you. As Chris said earlier, he's on point. Buyers are easy. Sellers, it's a lot more of a psychological game, getting them to sort of, actually admit they need help and that you're the right fit for them.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe how even you guys help agents that you work with do that. Because I think you're right. There tends to be kind of these routines of, okay, on the 1st of the month, I talk about this. On the 15th of the month, I talk about this. Whereas what I hear you guys saying is that you've got to become more of a student of what people actually care about in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that we've got social unrest right now, like what new concerns are coming about in people's lives as a result of that? And how can you tactfully address those in a way that meet people where they're at and help them to see that there's a path forward to whatever better place they want to be in? You guys are both, again, some of the best marketers of our time. What advice would you give to a real estate agent to start to see and communicate the world in which they live in that way?
It is a mindset. You have to consume thinking about creating. So as you're taking in marketing and as you're reading headlines and reading stories, you've got to kind of turn that corner and say, what am I going to do with this story? Like when you hear that, like, it's funny, I just thought of a campaign that would be really powerful, which is like, has sheltering in place caused you to want a bigger place? Right? There is a whole world of people that now are working at home. They don't have a home office. Jimmy goes to our office every day in Boston because he doesn't have a home office. If you're going to get Jimmy to decide to move to the suburbs, you're going to have to talk to him about home offices. He's going to need more space. So, and you're right. Over the last 3 or 4 months, we've either fallen in love with our homes or decided that we hate our homes. So I just think it's sort of like what's happening now. There's a great book called Newsjacking. And what this book talks about is that when there are stories that are out there in the blogosphere, in the Twitter sphere, in the Facebook sphere, when you see articles that are happening that are really popular, what is your version of that article, right? A great tool people should use is called BuzzSumo. You go to buzzsumo.com, you put in a keyword like real estate, or you put in a keyword like Orlando, your local market, and it will show you what the most viral and popular articles are right now with those keywords, with those angles, from those sources. So you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. You know, what is your version of, like, everyone should subscribe to HGTV's blog. They should subscribe to Zillow's blog. They should subscribe to the New York Times Real Estate. Like, get that information coming to you so that you can grab it, tweak it, and turn it into content for yourself. Worst case, you can share their stuff, but in a perfect world, you're creating your own.
Yeah, there's a framework to think about there too. Something that we picked up on very early during the last few months here, which is this idea that you can sort of speak to the questions or join the conversation that's happening in the minds of the consumer. It starts with this, Justin. Can I sell my house? That's the first question people are asking. Now, that was a little bit different during COVID, but it's also true right now in a low inventory market, because people are going to say, can I sell my house and actually buy a new one? That's the thought that's going through their mind. The next question that you should answer is, should you? One of our favorite campaigns we ran recently was, is selling your house right now a mistake? You know, tapping into that, should you actually sell your house? And then the last question that consumers are asking themselves is, how do I? How do I go through the process? How do I find the right agent? How do I actually market my home? How do I get the most amount of money for it? How do I sell it in the quickest amount of time? How do I actually move out of the property? How does that actually close? So can I, should I, how do I is a framework that you can use. And if you mirror that with what Chris just said, which is finding articles from media companies to help inform your strategy and being aware of those marketable moments, you can now start getting into that space where you're creating expert level content consistently through social, through digital, as a way to help brand yourself as the go-to de facto expert in real estate to attract sellers. You can't chase sellers, you got to attract them, and this is how you're going to do it.
And I love it. And there's so many tools available. And as we discussed, we started off, there's so many ways to take that content and be sure that everybody in a particular neighborhood is seeing it, right? Using the digital tools that are out there. Again, I would not recommend that if you're hearing that and getting excited about that, to go try and figure that out yourself, or assign your assistant to go figure that out. Like, get experts. Just like you wouldn't want people taking some discount broker, right? Or selling their home by themselves. It's the same concept, right? Hire an expert. The expert will pay for themselves. Like, I had a conversation with an agent or with a friend of mine yesterday. He's like, man, I'm thinking really hard about selling it myself. And he's an attorney, right? And I said, well, you know, I get what you're saying, but I would encourage you to think this way of, like, go to the agent and ask, what is it like? Explain to me the value that I'm going to get by using you. Like, put it, you know, if this is that concerning to you, put the onus on the agent to say, what's the return? And I said, here's part of the paradigm through which you need to look through, is that people are going to come at you already looking for a deal because you're doing it by yourself. And secondly, there's a good marketer, not just a good real estate agent, but a good marketer will create a bit of a frenzy at your home to where the price actually goes up and it offsets that. And I've had people who I've talked off the cliff of doing it themselves. They come back and they say, man, I'm glad I did that. Here's what my agent did, because they chose a good one, right? They chose somebody who's really an expert marketer. Again, such validation again of not trying to do all this stuff yourself, but outsource it, find great partners, Curaytor, of course, being a great one of them. I've got, out of respect for your time, I want to end with the signature question of the show. I feel like I could pick your brains all day, and I'm sure you'd have tons of stuff to offer. My audience is probably feeling the same way. So before I do that, before I jump to the signature question, let me ask this: how do people find you guys? Let's say they're to that point where it's like, my business is growing and I could really start to scale this thing if I had a little more time and could focus on some of these other results. Is it Curaytor.com? Is that where you direct people to?
Yeah, Curaytor.com. If they go to Curaytor.com/demo, they can watch a 19-minute video that explains exactly what we do. And then they can grab a 30-minute call with myself to figure out if it's right for them. So Curaytor.com/demo. We've got a great website. People can check it out. And we'd love to chat with them. We've got reviews and case studies and tons of content on the site.
All right, here's the question. I'm happy. I'd love it if you both answer it, but at least one of you, I want to pull this from you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're big thinkers, right? That's why you're on the Think Bigger Real Estate show here. What do you guys do to continue to be big thinkers, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does that look like for you?
Man, it's a big question. I think the thing that Chris and I have always had in common, and why we work so well together, and why we built something really special at Curaytor, is because both Chris and I believe that we can do something really special, and we both believe that together there's nothing that we can't accomplish. So when you ask the question, how do you start to have that sort of think bigger mindset? I think it's absolutely who you surround yourself with. Chris and I have absolutely insane, audacious, laughable goals for this company that if we were to say on this podcast right now, people would sort of fall out of their chair thinking, are these guys insane? I believe who you surround yourself with, who you choose as your mentors from afar, are the people who are going to best influence your mindset. And I think Chris and I have always spent our careers asking ourselves, why not us? Someone's going to do this. Why not us? And right now, I don't think we haven't found a good answer. Why not? So that's been our mantra since day one, and something we've always tried to embrace. But I think if you're an entrepreneur, listen, here's the bottom line. If you're an entrepreneur, you're gonna spend 80 hours, 100 hours a week building something anyways. Why not make it big, right? You're gonna put the same amount of work and effort into building something small as you are big. So why not go big? And that's the mindset you got to have if you're going to be in this game.
Love it, Chris. Did you add anything to that?
I think it's perfectly said. You got to surround yourself with greatness, and you got to have belief. We do our podcast really out of a place of selfishness. We want to learn from the people we interview, and we work with amazing people. So they're always leveling us up. I really believe in the adage, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So it really comes down to surrounding yourself with greatness and having a deep belief in yourself that you can accomplish big things, and never being content. I think that's one of the things about Jimmy and I is we're never satisfied. We're happy sometimes, but we're never satisfied.
Amazing answers, guys. I wouldn't have expected anything less. I want to thank you so much for what you've poured into me. Chris, you identified my selfish reason for doing the Think Bigger Real Estate show. It gives me what Darren Hardy once described when he was the editor of Success Magazine, a calling card to get in contact with the biggest thinkers in the world. And that's exactly what this has become. And case in point, you guys being here with me today. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Also, on behalf of the Think Bigger Real Estate audience, I thank you for your time and everything you shared. I really encourage anybody that's listening to this that feels like it's time, like what Chris and Jimmy just describes me and my ambition. Why not go big? Why not do more? Why not live a big life? These are the guys you want to talk to. These are the guys you want to associate with and to see how outsourcing some of your marketing to them can really be a great decision. So with that, I want to just remind everybody of the mantra and charge of this show. And they are 3 simple words, and they are go, think bigger. Jimmy and Chris, it's been a total pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin.
You bet, guys.